Hello, everyone, and welcome to the SEO Frameworks, the podcast where we explore the building blocks of a winning SEO strategy. Whether you are an SEO professional, a digital marketer, or just someone looking to optimize his business online, this series is for you. I'm your host, Manuel Madedu, and this podcast is brought to you by Oncrawl. So, yeah, thank you for being here. And today we'll be talking about web performance and cover vitals. And we've got two amazing guests with us today. So, we've got Nikki and Pier Paolo. And yeah, I'll let you guys introduce yourself directly, which I think is best. Um, so, yeah, starting with Nikki, do you want to share a bit more about you, your background?
Hi. I'm Nikki Halliwell. I'm a technical SEO consultant based in Manchester. I run my own consultancy, and I'm also the tech SEO manager at Journey Further. Most days, I've got my head in the middle of many different spreadsheets. But if I'm not doing that, you'll usually find me out with my dog or forcing my wife to watch football. She will become a fan one day. I'm convinced it's going to happen.
Okay, we can support you. Then, yeah, Paolo, your turn.
I am Per Paolo. I'm SEO director at Spark Foundry. I've been doing this work for over 15 years so far. I have a odd history because I started doing a PhD in Italy. At one point, a guy shared a PDF, like was something basically done putting together images and some text was very odd about SEO, and that sounded like, oh, that's my cup of tea. Nothing is certain, everything is like you ask, you test, you talk and discuss. So I said, from them I started this career in SEO.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I see. I don't know. Yeah. We discussed something yesterday, but I think we all land on SEO pretty randomly, like from all different backgrounds. And as you said, I think that the nice part is discussing, sharing, and that's why we are here today. And then well, that all depends. All depends on what to focus on and the case study specific business targets and so on. So yeah, it's really interesting. It's a vibrant community, and again, why we are here discussing and try to share our knowledge today. And again, the topic today is Core Vitals, which is an exciting one. It's very trendy. It's something that every business, everybody, every SEO, at least in their career, have touched on and are discussing, if I don't say on a daily basis, but frequently with clients. Um, so yeah, first question for you guys, and you can decide who's going to answer first. But why Core Vitals are important?
Do you want to go first, Pier Paolo?
I was expecting you just
That's fine. I'll take
yeah,
it.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
not a problem. Key takeaways. I think test on multiple different tools. The first port of call for most of us is PageSpeed Insights or Lighthouse, and that's great. I definitely still use it, but I think using other tools as well to get their perspectives and to see what their measurements are and how they might differ is really important for core web vitals. I think we can over rely on a single tool and not necessarily understand how that tool measures and how it might be biased. So when you're testing on multiple tools, you can get a more accurate measurement. You can take the average and also make much more, what's the word, better informed recommendations and decisions on the back of that.
Mhm. So yeah, so it's key really to understand data, understand how you perform, and then prioritize and share recommendations. But yeah, Papalo, maybe for you then. So why is important to do this? Why cover vitals rather than other things? So what is important about them?
Like everything that Google says, everything is user experience. What Nikki said about tools, it's really important. Yes, PageSpeed Insight is the go-to tool. Is basically one of the few that can give you the core web vitals, because those are metrics created by Google. They are not lab data. At the same time, what I will say is, like as I was saying, is user experience. Indeed, all the web vitals look about how the page can shift while loading, and this is very frustrating. For example, I can tell you that one of the tools made by Google, that is Looker Studio. When you try to create a connector, especially a third party, every time there is a layout shift that is very frustrating. And that's a little tool, and I'm on the desktop. Imagine if you are on a e-commerce site and you wanna click on something, and under your own very eyes, it moves away. That's very frustrating, especially if you wanna buy something.
Exactly. So yeah. So the direct impact on user perception. So essentially, all it's focused on users. If the impression or perception they have of the site, if the page is not performing well, they might not be converting as we wish and we expect. So that's why speed performance is important. You guys, both of you, you mentioned some of the tools. So PageSpeed Insight, Lighthouse, being maybe the most common. But is that the tool you use on a day-to-day, or your preferred tool, or you have other tools of your preference to investigate, to audit?
I usually start on PageSpeed Insights and I'll get a feel for what the results are, but then I'll usually start to use GTmetrix. Is one of my personal favorites. They've recently started charging for it. It did used to be a free tool. The other two are free, so PageSpeed Insights and Lighthouse. But GTmetrix, I really do like that. I like the level of depth that it goes into and provides me with basically more data that I can do something with, whether it's dig deeper into the issue or start to share that with the client then and there. I prefer the level of detail that gives. But I do also use webpagetest.org. That one is free. With what I like about that one is the different settings that you can do. So you can set from different locations, which you can do in GTmetrix, but this allows you to do it in more detail. So you can test from the UK, the US, most major countries. You can choose a location within there, and you can also test on various different devices as well. And handily, you can do 3 tests at once. So then you can see the results for each individual test and also get an average. So it'll do everything within one. And it's also really useful for being able to share that data with the client. You can just share the URL with the client, the devs, like your colleagues, whoever it is that you're working with. So it's a lot more collaborative in that way as well. But all of those tools just take the results basically just then. I know PageSpeed Insights is a little bit different because they have like lab and field data. But another one that we use at Journey Further is another paid tool, and that's called Debugbear. And what we like about this one is we set our clients up with different templates, so the main templates that they have, and then it records it over time. So we're not just getting a one-time snapshot, we're getting daily, weekly, monthly, whatever frequency we set, snapshots of the page performance, so we can see in real time almost how things are changing and when certain things become an issue, or equally when they're fixed. And it means we're able to be a lot more proactive in the work that we're doing on Core Web Vitals rather than just being reactive.
Exactly, and discuss it with the devs. Is it a custom tool, or is something, because I never use it, honestly, I have to admit, but
no, it's not a custom tool. Let me get the URL.
Okay.
Make sure I get this right before I read it out.
Yeah, we can share with our audience later.
Yeah,
So,
it's
just
debugbear.com. So DEBUGBEAR.com.
Okay, interesting. I'll have a look, because honestly, yes, I do the same, but I usually build custom scraping script with Lighthouse API or web page tests also through the API. I try to report on trends for page types, but yeah, I would have a look at that. Interesting.
Yeah, I'd definitely recommend it. I hadn't come across it before I started working at Journey Further, and now I use it like every time we're doing a piece of site speed work, and it's really useful.
Okay. Yeah, it's really important to say we are not promoting any tool. We are just sharing. But yeah, Pierpaolo, do you have any other secret tools or any tool you prefer?
To be honest, it's quite impossible to say any other tool after Nikki, because yes, those are the go-to tools. Yes, if you want to do something manual, you can use Chrome Inspect Element and start playing around with but again, if we are talking about Core Web Vitals, those are not lab data. Those are field data. And therefore, you have to rely on Google. At the same time, if you want to just get an understanding of your pages, go to Search Console, and there you have an overview of the pages. They won't tell you what's wrong, but at least you will have a understanding of what pages are doing well and what are not doing so good.
Yeah, you mentioned something important and something that we didn't discuss previously in our previous discussion, but maybe it's worth specifying and clarifying for the audience, for the listener, because yes, we know as technical SEO, as SEOs, what's the difference between lab data and field data, but because you mentioned,
yeah, if I may, okay, lab data means that they analyze a page in a controlled environment, so as it will load in any occasion. Field data is the data that are collected by Google through Chrome and other means by user. If I want to be a bit blunt about this is also a kind of classist metric, because from my own experience, when we had like a luxury client, so it was targeting very high-end users, the site was performing terribly on lab data, but was able to pass few core web vitals for certain pages, because at the end of the day, the average user had the latest iPhone, the fastest connection, and this kind of device impact a lot core web vitals, because you can imagine, try to load the page with I don't know, a Windows 95 computer, and one thing is the latest iPhone, the data is completely different, even though the site is very slow.
Just to clarify also for the audience, because again, I think we aligned, but essentially, as you said, lab data, it's synthetic data, so it's data that for which you can set up specific testing condition and that you can replicate. Where the field data, it's Google collecting data for 28 days, then providing the average based on the real world experience. When assessing the quality of the website, Google is using field data because that's what real users see. Where the lab data, usually you use a slower connection. So Google, when assessing the speed quality, uses 4G, slow connection, and usually it's what you use also when you replicate in lab data, but it's slower than what you usually see. So it will take more time for a page to load, like 15, 20, 30 seconds, 1 minute. It's not what you see in the real world. So yeah, what you said, Paul, it's really we should focus on field data. Lab data should be worth checking when we discuss stuff with the devs. So you want to see post implementation and test. I think that's the main one. But I think we're mentioning, so we started to discuss cover vitals, but are those the only metrics we should really care of, or there are better metrics or other things we should see?
Yeah, for me, I definitely use other metrics as well. I mean, and this has come on the back of speaking with devs, right? Because you can talk to them about first contentful paint, and they're like, I don't know what that means. That's just buzzwords to them. Like, they don't really care. But if you're talking to them about metrics like time to first byte, which is, essentially how long it takes connecting to the server, or you've got things like fully loaded time, things that are not jargon and buzzwords, they understand that a lot easier, and you can get buy-in a lot easier. So I tend to focus on them scores as well, and things like page weight. That's not to say that I don't pay attention to LCP and all those sorts of things, but I use them in conjunction with things that are much more understandable and that they have more clarity around how they're measured. So, it's always in seconds or milliseconds, and these are things that we can track a lot more clearly. And I find that helps with getting the buy-in from stakeholders, from devs, but also getting things implemented as well.
Yeah, you speak the same language, essentially, not just what Google wants to discuss, but what the devs, what the people doing the job need to see and care about.
I mean, none of us had ever heard of cumulative layout shift until a few years ago. We knew what it was because we'd seen that frustration that Pier Paolo described, and we knew that, yes, that's annoying. But until a few years ago, when Google introduced it, we were like, well, what is this new word? And the devs aren't reading all of the blogs that we read, because why should they? That's not their job. It's our job to communicate that to them and stick with what they understand. And by fixing those, that will also have an impact on your core web vitals metrics as well.
Exactly. What we always make sure we share the useful links to them so they can
Mhm.
spend their evenings reading what we read, just as a revenge, and maybe so that they can understand better than us. For example, interaction to next paint because I'm still scratching my head. But yeah, Pierpaolo, do you have other metrics? Do you agree with what Nikki said?
Yeah, yeah, the point is to make it like in with lower common denominator. So something that usually I tend to tell is let's get rid of the unused code. Can be CSS, JavaScript, anything that's not used or used only in certain occasion. Let's save that code for those occasion only on those pages or those templates. At the same time, like cumulative layout shift. What I try to explain is we need to fix something. We need to still put placeholders to avoid that the page shift and something gets basically in the way of someone clicking or interacting with the page. Try to make it in layman's terms possible, the lamest ones.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's coming up one important theme, so communication, because yes, we are discussing what core vitals are, what we should focus on and why it's important. But at the end of the day, once we've got our clear picture about what we need to optimize, what's going wrong, and we share our recommendation, but then it's about communication because we need to prioritize, but at the end of the day, we need to share our findings to the devs, and we may clash. So I would say, what's the best way to get your implementation or your findings acknowledged, or yeah, how to convince the devs to implement what you saw is wrong.
There's a few different things you can do, and first of all, get direct access to the devs instead of going through, the client contact or whatever, whoever it may be. Try and get a seat at the table, as it were, with them, whether it's on Slack or on a call, and understand what they care about. And what I mean by that is, what are their KPIs? Are they looking at certain figures that they're measured on, like revenue, or is it something else? Whatever the case may be, find out what they're measured by, and then you can gauge your tickets around that. So you can say, like, okay, by fixing this, I am helping you to hit your KPIs, and then they'll also be more motivated to do it. But also, it's all about the tickets that you create. And I'm doing a bit of work on this as well separately, but a lot of us can be guilty of sending big documents that explain, this is what cumulative layout shift, this is why it matters. No one's going to read that. I don't want to read that. Certainly not developers. So it's like, stick to the point. And one of the ways that you can do that is get an example of their tickets, whether that's getting access to Jira or just a PDF example of one that they've used before. You can see what specific fields they're looking at, and you might be things like user stories or as is state and to be state. Like, little phrases like that are things that they're looking at to understand the work that we need to do. And therefore, if you use them in your tickets and just include the information that they want, nothing more, nothing less, include exactly the right level of detail, then things are going to get done a lot quicker as well, because they don't have to spend all night trying to understand what the heck it is that we want them to do.
Exactly. So clear communication. Also, guys, I mean, I want to mention, because this is a common theme. So in all episode, I'm discussing, technical implementation issues and common pitfall we do with the guests. So it always popped up, this conversation about making clear communication with the devs and all the stakeholders. So it seems like I'm on a mission to convince, we struggle with that. But actually, when we focus on technical SEO, it's very important. It's maybe the biggest challenge we have, because once we identify issues, then we need to communicate. That the biggest bottleneck sometimes for people to understand and actually implement. So yeah, but Paolo, from your point of view, so that said, it is really important to communicate and prioritize, I guess. But do you have any recommendations on? I mean,
Yeah,
how yeah,
like Nicky said, go straight to the point, avoid any kind of in-depth description, and try to be as specific as possible. Like, for example, even one of the recurring problems that even one of the easier to solve is the image, because at times the point is, okay, we need to shrink the image and have below 100K if it's possible. But the point is, okay, you can ask them to find a scalable solution, which is I always recommend. So these are the images. This is where the URL. If we resize this image and we re-upload to an FTP client to the same part, your job will be easier because you won't break any link to the images. So it will be just a matter of an FTP client to use. But like I said, the problem is this is the issue right now. We can solve it, but it will come back if don't educate the user. That's not the dev. It will be the your client backend user how to manage this situation. Another recommendation that I do in these cases is, okay, let's put a threshold, a limit. You cannot upload images bigger than this. And if you do it, let's use a plugin to convert. Let's find this solution, because usually, at least in big agency with big client, the keyword is scalable. And we need to find something that can be applied across multiple situations and in any occasion.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's because of the value. So when you run big businesses, so from the client point of view or business point of view, it costs money to implement anything, and you've got different teams involved, so it also costs time. So it's about, yeah, once you identify the priority, what you need to do, as you said, Pierpaolo, adopt a scalable solution, and yeah, it's really vital to educate the team, because if you do that, then you don't need to repeat and fix mistakes, but they know, they are already in a good place. So it's really important. So yeah, that said, guys, I think last question really is, if you're failing with all of this, so if really you demonstrate everything and you've got your nice amazing analysis, cover vital, CLS, this is what you need to fix, you've got a lot of recommendation and prioritization and prioritize actions. If they don't want to listen, I don't know if your experience, you had that before, but how did you sort, like, how did you convince them, so what to focus on? How did you get your stuff implemented?
Yeah, we're having this with one of our clients at the minute, and we've been working with them for a few years. And last year there was only a few tickets that got implemented, and then it was code freeze. So then it was all tools down, and then we've done an updated audit this year for various reasons, and then we got 1 or 2 tickets through, but now we're about to come into another code freeze, and it looks like we've got 2 tickets done in the space of a year, which is not great. But there's a difference between what we've delivered and what's actually been implemented, and it's everything that we've delivered in the last year has gone into that infinite black hole known as the backlog. So that's what we're doing. We're speaking with them and being like, right, well, while our tickets have sat there, what have you been working on? What is it about those tickets that meant that they were more important than ours? Were they just smaller and easier to fix? Or is there something else that meant that you were able to focus on them and not ours? It may be that they're working on tickets from like the wider marketing team, and they've got certain tickets because it's Easter, we need to get those campaigns, and now it's coming up to summer, and there's always another campaign because it's October now, so we're coming into Christmas. There's always something else that's coming up that means that has to go on the site now, because otherwise we're going to miss it, and therefore everything else gets pushed down the line. So just like understanding what it is they're working on and why those certain things are prioritized. Again, it might be because they've made it clear that doing this or fixing this will generate X revenue, and maybe that's something that you didn't include in yours. Therefore, that's something they'd have to come back to you on. So there's more back and forth, whereas I try and include all of that up front. So less back and forth means more things get pushed through as well. But yeah, literally similar to what I was saying earlier, just ask the question. So we're with our client at the minute, we've got calls set up with the dev, our stakeholders, and a couple of other staff members from their internal teams that are all, and we're all fighting to get our tickets in the dev queue. And then we're chatting through with each other. So, okay, what do you need? What do you need? And then coming to an agreement that way. And actually, there's a lot of overlap between what some of the other, even internal teams want, and they didn't realize because they don't talk to each other. They're just everyone's trying to get it in the queue. So instead of having 5 tickets that are fighting for a space, we can get that down to 3 tickets, and then that means there's more space for our tech SEO tickets as well, which would actually complement the activity that they're trying to do.
Yeah,
so it's not always a simple fix, but actually it makes sense. And communication, that's a lot of what it comes down to in tech SEO and implementation, actually, which is probably something that not many of us thought about when we started working in this industry.
Exactly. You realize this when as soon as you become more senior, like communication, you need to master communication because it's key. And then I think the magic word, as you said, is like, alignment. So you need to collaborate, and you really need to speak to the different teams and understand what they do, understand their priorities, and also make your observation findings and your staff clear to say, okay guys, I've got this. If you don't do this, this will be X revenue lost. So essentially translate what you find in business, KPIs, and maybe something they can understand, but then align with their priorities.
You can put them into buckets as well. Is a similar issue, a similar approach that we've done with a client of ours in another industry. Because again, dev pipeline is an issue, and on the back of some work that we did with them, we bucketed everything up, and we knew that like there's 10 issues that all relate to indexing. There's 5 that relate to crawling, and there's these other ones over here, all in different buckets. And instead of us delivering those 10 indexation tickets separately, we're creating them as one overall ticket called indexing that then has the subtasks under it. And that means that instead of doing 10 individual, we have one. And it's much more, again, scalable and fixable, because they can be chipping away at those while they've got a little bit of downtime, or while there's other stuff going on. And that's been really effective for those guys.
So trying to also to streamline all the communication and go to the point, maybe summarizing or
it's not one size fits all either, is it? It's just finding what works for that particular client, and communication.
Exactly. So Pierpaolo, from your point of view, how did you made the devs your friends? So joking, but how did you convince to get your prioritize actions,
on the back of what Nikki said, yes, you need to understand the workflow, the priorities on these bits and pieces, all these nuances. But to be honest, I'm kind of petty. So when I see that something is wrong on the dev side, I go to the client. Mostly because at that point there is no longer a discussion with devs. If you find something that's really hard, for example, not talking about web vitals, but in other occasion, I had the problem with the Sage Insight where they had a facet menu generating basically an infinite amount of URLs, because it was attaching everything is possible to URLs, that the crawl was never ending. It started 1 week, and after 3 weeks was still running. I said, we cannot crawl the website in this way. We need to find a solution. I said, at least let's make it something no index, no follow. These links, let's stop this link. And the dev, I don't know why, they applied a one solution fits all, and instead of selecting the links that I told them to make no follow, all the links were no follow. So at this point, you should say, what is possible? And then you have to go back to the client and say, look, this was the ticket. This is what we asked. This is what they've done. Do something, because I cannot, I don't know how to tell them, because at one point, yes, I'm petty going to go to the client, but at the same time, it seems that we are speaking to different language, or they don't want to listen. But this is an extreme scenario. It's not the average scenario, because they were like this kind of, I go for the fastest, easiest solution. I don't listen. You ask me to make no follow 3 links, and I do every link.
Yeah. No, I think it's really important to, as we said, I think it's about, aligning and the relationship. So, if we discuss stuff, then we should go in the same direction. If you go in any other direction, you also put my role, my job at stake, because if you make a mistake, then it can also fall on me, then I need to escalate. So yeah, and it really seems like you're standing for SEO, Pier Paolo. So it's
Yeah,
good.
no. But again, the point is, it's a discussion. I
Yeah,
understand they have their problem. They have like a pile of tickets to face. I understand, but at the same time, let's try to find a common ground and let's do something, because, like you said, it's my job, but it's yours too. Because
yeah.
yes,
Plus, yeah, plus the target is in common, so we should align to then optimize performance and increase revenue at the end of the day. So if we make a mistake in between, it can fall on all of us, and the client's not happy. But yeah, guys, I think we had a very useful conversation. I feel we might discuss this for hours, not only about cover vitals, but SEO, and maybe how to convince devs and be careful about what we all do. But yeah, maybe it would be a matter for material for another episode. Let's see. Um, but yeah, I think that's it for today. And for the people listening, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Um, Before signing off again, I wanted to say thank you guys for being here. It's a bit challenging because we are always busy with SEO conversations with the devs. So we are always busy, but it's important also to make time for something like this and share our knowledge or even just discuss stuff. So I think it's valuable. But yeah, thank you for being here, and thank you for listening for the people listening to this. And join us again for another episode of SEO Framework. We will be releasing one episode for each month up until December, and then let's see if we'll follow me here. Until then, stay curious, stay inspired, and be as strong as you. Okay, thank you guys.
bye.
Thank you.